Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to all. I will take this opportunity to take you on a reverse time travel to about 200 years back from today, to about 1822. So, the discussion or the talk that I will cover this morning is to highlight the origins of KL in the context of its evolution. When they invited me to speak, I gave them this title, and they said, "What's Muara Bustak?" Like it or not, prior to the 1800s, the confluence of the river of Sungai Klang and Sungai Gombak was referred to as Muara Bustak. Muara means confluence and not Kuala. Kuala is a port, and Kuala is always at the end of the river when it meets the sea. So, semantically and vocabulary-wise, there are some corrections to be made. So, this is the whole purpose of us getting together, is to share all this, having known and uncover more information. We like to share it, and perhaps where necessary, we need to amend our inverted history. So, I have used this title, Muara Bustak, deliberately in the hope that some people will remember the origin of the confluence of Sungai Gombak and Sungai Klang. So, the topic that I would like to cover this morning is to talk about the historical evolution of human settlements at the confluence of the two rivers, Gombak and Klang. So, Muara Bustak was described as the muddy estuary in the Bahasa Mandailing. These are the clan of people coming in from Sumatra in the 1820s. The in-migration was caused by a persistent war called the Perang Padre in Sumatra that lasted for more than 40 years. So, as also mentioned earlier, before the creation of political boundaries in this region, such as the various countries like today Malaysia as we know it, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, and the whole area was a large region, South Asian region in the tropics called the Nusantara. So, Muara Bustak was one of the names, and literally translated, Bustak means muddy, as been repeated just now. And it got muddy simply because people were mining in that area. And the mining was done very conventionally and traditionally using the dulang system. Anyway, the other reference, I acknowledge Anderson, who in his writing has referred to the confluence of the two rivers as Sungai Lumpur. And the spelling you will see is very Indian, in the sense that it is in India where they emphasize the R twice. Not to overemphasize, but to emphasize they put a double letter. And Burns, in the journals of Vietnam, has also referred to the confluence as Kuala Lumpur, spelled the way I've spelled it there, Q-U-A-L-L-A. And then, in some of the references of Tengku Kudin, in 1875, in the Middlebrooks papers, Kuala Lumpur was also known as Pangkalan Lumpur. Pangkalan is the fact. Pangkalan, literally translated, means trading post. It's a trading post. So this is why the term Muara Bustak, because the Mandalings in Sumatra have this philosophy that if you want to create a settlement, you must try and find a place where the two rivers would meet. And at the confluence, that's where wealth and richness will be found and located. And this is a belief that they carried from many, many years ago. Hence the word Muara Bustak, I would like to suggest, should be remembered, if not changed. I'm not trying to suggest that the capital city of Malaysia is now Muara Bustak, but I'm trying to tell you that once upon a time, it was called Muara Bustak, and we must understand and appreciate the reference to it. So, that's my opening remark, and then I'll just try and proceed. So I mentioned just now that the Nusantara is often referred to. 2 million years ago, not 200 years ago, but 2 million years ago, the whole region was referred to as the Sundaland. And because of the ice age, the melting of the ice, there was this, the filling of the sea. The area of the sea has increased, which is what we are experiencing today in the year 2022. Some islands in the Pacific and even in the Indian Ocean are threatened to be drowned or, go underwater. So anyway, I have to refer to the Sunda land of 2 million years ago, where the people and the culture of these people living in this region were connected, and they were free to move and roam in this area. And to them it's nothing like moving from KL, Petaling Street, to Bangsa or to Pudu. It's just a matter of choice. And you feel that you are tired of Bangsa, you can go and stay in Damansara or Shah Alam, for example. That's the kind of concept of human relationship. So this is why I thought I need to encourage the participants or the listeners today to just shut your eyes for a while and take yourself back 200 years ago and imagine what we were like then, or the human settlements were. So the Nusantara, as I put there, free movement of people in the region. They have their own civilization, they have their own laws and respects, as well as ethics, but it was not properly documented. And this is why I think there is a serious effort to try and document some of these verbal laws and bylaws that we were talking about. I have referred to the Orang Asli as the first group of people who live in this area. And the best reference is one of our 4 World Heritage Site in Lenggong, which has been established through the UNESCO, that there was human civilization in Perak, Lenggong, that dates back to 13,000 years ago. Can you imagine that? And this is evidenced by the skeleton, and that has been carbon tested to establish its age. Yeah? The Perak Man in Lenggong is one of the world's heritage to confirm the existence of human settlement in this part of the world. So it is not unusual that of the main range of Malaysia, in the hinterland of Selangor, there are civilization and there are human settlement. So I have illustrated the typical Temuang tribe of our Orang Asli. And then the rest are just pictorial images of the traditional resident of this Nusantara. And the word Nusantara is coming back, full circle. You know, I'll touch on this later. So let me just go back to this. Muara Bustak again. In 1862, the various Malay states in the peninsula were already created and recognized and documented in this particular map that not only shows Johor, Melaka, Negeri Sembilan, Pahang, Terengganu, Perak, Kelantan, Patani, and Kedah, and so on and so forth. So anyway, here are the maps that were. So let me give you a timeline, because this one will tell you all the story of KL in the 1800s. This is why 1820 is a good, 1822 is a good date, because that's almost 200 years ago. None of us were born yet. So, KL grew and it had all this. So as mentioned just now, the Perak Man, then the early kingdoms of the Ganga Negara, Langkasuka, so many here. Then the Sultanates of Kedah, Melaka, Johor. Then the colonial era. And finally independence. That's our Malaysian history in quick succession. So what I wanted to draw is the components of human settlements at the Muara Bustak. They comprise of Orang Asli, the Protos, Sinoy, Kanak, Samang, and the rest. Then there are 2 categories of Melayu. Melayu Asal, who are born and bred in the peninsula. Then Melayu Dagang. These are the traders that trade between, some settle, some go back to their places of origin. That includes the Mandalay, the Minangkabaus, the Rawa, the Batak, the Kerinci, Jawa. And then later we have the Peranakan, because most of these traders earlier, only the menfolk came and they married locals. And this is why you get the Peranakan. So that kind of intermarriages and intermix is a natural phenomena, and we have to recognize that. Then you have the influx of Chinese traders, of Hakka, Cantonese, there's a long list there, Indians that came. Now, what is critical in Malaysia and KL in particular is that's how KL started, this little black blob. And this is what KL is today. The unfortunate thing, a lot of our records, historic records, are not in this country. They are elsewhere. Even in Taiwan, there's a good library of Malaysian documents there, and in UK, and in Holland, and places like that. But not in the archives here. Sad to say. These are traditional Malay shophouses in Kuala Lumpur, where High Street and Cross Street is. And that's where the new KL market is located. Now, that map there in 1870 shows the confluence of the river and the community. And just north of the burial ground, you know, it's amazing that the first thing they did was to identify a burial ground. Then on either side are the trading areas and living areas. So the mosque that was referred to earlier is located there where Gyan Singh was, you know, and until the new mosque was built here, which is here in the burial ground. This is a picture again from Leiden University. The Sungai Gombak, the Gombak River here, and the burial ground in the background with all the tombstones and all that. And this is the clue to our transportation system, and I have referred to this as the cow wash. Not car wash, but the cow wash. And then again, history can be established if you look at the tombstones in the Muslim cemetery that will identify the name of the person, the date of birth, and the date of death. So then we can confirm. Here's another photograph which was shown earlier, but it is larger, so you'll be able to see. And that's where, okay, here's yet another Batu Road. Batu Road today, or Jalan Tuanku Abdul Rahman today. That's the kind of shop houses. It was referred to as Kampung Rawa. Anything north of the Muara Sungai is Kampung Rawa. That's where most of the Malays settle. Then, over the years, there has been a lot of debate who first founded and inhabited KL. Various Nusantara ethnic groups, eminent royalties and personalities were featured, mentioned, and played their respective roles and influences in the evolution of Kuala Lumpur. So, hence, I have included here, I don't have a photograph of Sultan Poso, but I have the tombstone, which is in Jalan Ampang, and Abdullah Hukum as yet another contributor to the physical development of KL. He was the man responsible for draining the swarm and getting rid of malaria from KL. And then you have the Captain China, starting from 1858, brought in initially by Sultan Poso to answer the expansion and the demand. Instead of a gold rush, we had a tin rush. You know, gold rush, tin rush. So there was a tin rush in this area. So the mining of tin is very critical. So hence the development, and I have indicated some of these people. And then, as always, when there's success, there's always conflict. And when there's conflict, there are factions. And if there are factions, then the civil war or Perang Klang actually is just a dispute in terms of business control. Yeah? So this is the structure, and there was Tengku Kudin, who is from the Kedah, but the son-in-law of the Sultan, who was supported by these people here, and there was another group supported by this other group. Anyway, that's another story that needs to be. So among the personalities I've mentioned earlier, Abdullah Hukum, Kampung Abdullah Hukum, everybody knows, famous Bangsa today is gone. You know, there's no kampung anymore. Prior to that, this is Sultan Poso, and one of the relatives' house, Rumah Degil, has been dismantled and re-erected at the Balai Seni Lukis, near Kampang. In my conclusion, this is what I need to share with all of us here, is the importance of learning from the past to understand and appreciate the present, and to move on and plan for the future. So, yes, Yap Alloy played a role in the redevelopment of Kuala Lumpur, especially after the destruction during the Selangor Civil War and the series of flash floods, which we still enjoy today, and the fire, because the buildings were made by very high-risk materials and built traditional buildings and infrastructure. A highly respected person among early Chinese settlers, via the administrative or his administrative structure of business partnerships that control the Kongsi and working in collaboration with the British administrators. Hence, the word founder of KL, as per the British colonial definition, has always been awkward because he was the third Captain China, which has denied the role of his predecessors and the existence and contributions of all other earlier human settlements and settlers, and at Muara Bustak as an active and socio-economic community. Successors like us cannot deny the contributions of our predecessors, and that truth must prevail. So there you are. I hope that Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia will hold fast to our historical evolution in our multi-ethnic heritage, reflecting the manifestation values of truth, logic, honesty, and harmony. So thank you very much for your